Fall in. Attention to orders. This week's Indiana veterans that have served and passed. Julian Kaiser, U.S. Marine Corps. Michael Cody, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Jeffrey Woodgett, U.S. Army, Army Reserve, and Indiana National Guard. Curtis Walker, U.S. Marine Corps. Terry Kubish, U.S. Marine Corps. Moen Barnes, Indiana National Guard. Richard Buck, U.S. Marine Corps. Bradley Comfort, U.S. Army and Army Reserve. Benjamin Pryorowitz, U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, and Indiana Air National Guard. Arnold Grosnickel, U.S. Air Force, and Indiana Air National Guard. Keith Menake, U.S. Navy. Oscar Highland, U.S. Army, Korea. Eudalus Pavassos, U.S. Army. William Hodge, U.S. Marine Corps. Samuel Huddleston, Indiana National Guard. Rodney Cyber, U.S. Navy, World War II. Jack Headley, U.S. Army. Edwin Leviton, U.S. Navy, World War II. Richard Sargent, Indiana National Guard. John Bunyard, Indiana National Guard. Carl Keene, U.S. Army, World War II. Jeanette Welsh, U.S. Navy. Frank Coyle, Indiana National Guard. Stephen Moore, U.S. Marine Corps, Vietnam. Maurice Geswin, U.S. Army, Korea. Bonnie Carey, U.S. Air Force. Merrill Reed, Indiana National Guard. Edwin Huffman, Indiana National Guard. Earl Bowman, U.S. Navy. Thomas Farrington, U.S. Air Force. Randall Potts, U.S. Army. Gerald Sebastian, U.S. Army and Indiana National Guard. Adam Long, Indiana Air National Guard. Gerald Willen, U.S. Army. John Hackman, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. Kim Cornelius, U.S. Army. Bob Vanderholtz, U.S. Air Force, Korea. David Sidden, Indiana National Guard. Stephen Moore, U.S. Marine Corps, Vietnam. William Fitchner, Indiana National Guard. Dwayne Alexander, U.S. Army. Robert Marbury, U.S. Navy. Roger Blackburn, U.S. Army. Larry Bogenschultz, U.S. Air Force. Edwin Leviton, U.S. Navy, World War II. Andrew Thomas, Indiana National Guard. Kenneth Mitchell, Indiana Air National Guard. Paul Bundy, U.S. Army. Danny Collins, U.S. Army. Larry Landrum, U.S. Army. James Foster, U.S. Air Force. Jerry Rennick, U.S. Army and Indiana National Guard. Howard Kennedy, U.S. Marine Corps. Louis Schroeder, U.S. Air Force. Odell Stevens, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Eric Schmidt, U.S. Navy, Vietnam. Richard Blakeman, U.S. Army. Hacker Combs, U.S. Army. Gary Hare, U.S. Army. Paul Kepner, U.S. Air Force. Stephen DeArmond, U.S. Navy. Stephen Eckert, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Paul Hoover, U.S. Army. William Kahn, U.S. Air Force. William Pierce, U.S. Army. Donald Tomlinson, U.S. Air Force, Korea. Gareth Whitaker, U.S. Navy, World War II. Ricky Rosia, U.S. Army, Army Reserve, Vietnam. James Sandy, U.S. Army. Larry Small, U.S. Air Force and Air Force Reserve. Francis Wright, U.S. Army, World War II. James Wagner, U.S. Navy. Jamie Hare, U.S. Navy. Robert Axe, U.S. Army, Korea. Richard Johnson, U.S. Navy, World War II, Indian Honor Flight. Leland Trapp, U.S. Air Force, Korea. Ernest Breeding, U.S. Army. Harley Parton, U.S. Navy. Stevie Brown, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Richard Dandois, U.S. Army. Herbert Eddy, U.S. Army. John Gay, U.S. Air Force, Vietnam. Keith Davis, U.S. Navy. Charles Schwab, U.S. Air Force, Vietnam. David Fitzgerald, U.S. Navy. Lauren Miller, U.S. Army. Dennis Matthews, U.S. Air Force. Maurice Nicholson, U.S. Army. Ronald Slayton, U.S. Army. John Green, U.S. Air Force. Richard Thompson, U.S. Army. Donald Acton, U.S. Navy. Charles Ray, U.S. Army. Raymond Ellifritz, U.S. Air Force. And Michael Jones, U.S. Marine Corps. Other veterans from across the nation: Mark Durkee, U.S. Navy, Tennessee. Howard Tower, U.S. Army, Korea, Florida. Stephen Waterman, U.S. Navy, Vietnam, Pennsylvania. William Lira, U.S. Army of Connecticut. And Paul Hedricks, U.S. Air Force, War on Terror, South Carolina. Police and Fire End of Watch: Deputy Christopher Olmeyer, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, Louisiana. Deputy Derek Boham, Weakley County Sheriff's Office, Tennessee. Officer Pedro Tamang, Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department, Georgia. And Deputy Rick Haggard, Lee County Sheriff's Department, Mississippi. And Rosewood Riveters are Bessie Young, Catherine Raymond, and Norma Snyder. Sergeant, all souls present and accounted for.
Thank you, Sergeant. Return to your post. Group, present arm. Order, arm. Stand fast. I have one announcement this week. Battle Buddies will be meeting this Wednesday at the Morgan County History Museum on Main Street. This is for any of our veterans, first responders. If you're having any issues, PTSD, alcohol, issues with readjusting to civilian life. We meet at 6:30 p.m. and we don't stop until the last person's finished talking. This is free of charge. It's just something that we like to do for our veterans and our responders as a way of supporting them the way they supported our nation. All of us run the group have our own issues that we've been dealing with for many years, and our spouses meet in a separate area of the room where they can discuss the issues they have dealing with our situations. So it's, like I said, free of charge, just like everything we do, and it's for everybody that needs help. So if you know somebody, bring them along. We're more than happy to welcome everybody. So have a blessed weekend. Stay safe. God bless y'all.